Our story begins in a world where everyone worships the gods, yet those popular deities have become quite arrogant due to the constant offerings. Instead of begging those who ignore him, he decides it's better to seek out the forgotten ones, while others pray to the god of longevity. He goes all in on the king of hell, asking to simply have his name crossed off the list, while others seek wealth from the famous god of wealth, Zhao Gongming. He turns his back on tradition to seek a brotherhood with the obscure June wealth god. It's all about the contrast. But for now, his most urgent task is to find some money, or he won't even be able to afford incense. Fortunately, from his past life as a Taoist, he knows the secret names of the deities like the back of his hand. Most people only know the famous faces of fortune, like Zhao Gongming or the martial god Guan Yu. They have no idea that the true council of wealth gods actually consists of 5 different figures. The other 3 are Baigon, the god of the east, Chai Rong of the south, and Chai Rong again as the god of the center. Aside from Baigon, he suspects most people wouldn't even recognize the other 2. And so we see that, even among the most popular pantheons, there are hidden figures. He decides to head to the Temple of Wealth to try his luck. Without a moment's hesitation, he arrives at the temple's main hall and finds the map of the altars to begin his search. The massive Zhao family temple is a dazzling sight, filled with dozens of shrines of all sizes. However, as he looks closer, he notices something strange. In this grand temple, aside from the main deity, the lesser gods are nowhere to be found. He wonders if his grand plan to worship the forgotten gods is about to fail before it even begins. But just as his heart begins to sink, his eyes catch something in the corner of the map, the words back courtyard. In that small section, he finds a dense list of names. As his gaze sweeps over these minor deities, one name suddenly makes his pupils shrink in surprise: the June wealth god, Chai Rong. To be honest, it was exactly what he was looking for. In a moment of pure excitement, he can't help but pump his fist. After memorizing the location of Chai Rong's altar, he heads to the incense counter. The staff member gives a dismissive snort and points toward the incense, where the price suddenly appears. With the name of the wealth god Chai Rong in mind, Lu Chun grabs his incense and heads straight for the security passage while joining the queue. As we watch him wait, he spots his classmates, Li Ruoyi and Song Hao, walking out of the exit. They ask him which deity he's planning to worship. Before Lu Chun can even offer an answer, Song Hao suddenly leans forward with an intrusive curiosity to get a better look. His sharp eyes catch the words on the incense, and he lets out a mocking cry. The June wealth god, Chai Rong? It sounds absurd to him. He claims he's never even heard of such a god in his entire life. To be honest, most people haven't. Song Hao continues his teasing, noting that while he understands Lu Chun wanting to pray for wealth, the choice of deity is baffling. He asks why on earth Lu Chun wouldn't just worship the orthodox god of wealth like everyone else. At this point, the surrounding pilgrims in line find their interest piqued by the commotion. They agree that the young man's choice is quite unusual. They warn him that choosing such an obscure god is a waste of incense money, especially since the Zhao family's main deity is known for being the most effective. They mockingly call him a genius for picking the one god rumored to be the least effective. It's a classic case of public skepticism. As the chatter grows around him, Lu Chun simply asks them if they've ever actually tried it themselves before making such a judgment. He questions how they can be so certain the god won't answer. Hearing this, Song Hao breaks into a loud, condescending laugh. He argues that the reason the god is considered ineffective is precisely because people have tried and failed to get results in the past. He explains that's why no one bothers anymore, mocking Lu Chun for thinking he's the only clever person in a world of fools. Even Li Ruoyi finds herself agreeing with Song Hao's logic this time. She looks at Lu Chun with a touch of pity. She points out that popular deities are popular because they've been validated by countless people over vast stretches of time. That, she claims, is why their incense burns so brightly. In contrast, the gods Lu Chun is seeking are quite different. To put it bluntly, she suggests these are the gods who have been filtered out by history. She assumes he understands her meaning. Lu Chun decides not to waste any more breath on them. After all, the incense is already bought. He follows the signs toward the back courtyard. But as he steps into the rear area, he's momentarily stunned. The contrast with the grand pavilions of the front courtyard is truly staggering. While the front pavilions were grand and solemn, this backyard can only be described as a dilapidated ruin, overgrown with wild weeds and neglected. Even the buildings are falling apart. To be honest, the Zhao family is being quite unfair here. After all, these are still supposed to be deities. One would think they'd at least maintain the backyard, but because these gods don't sell incense, they receive this blatant level of discrimination. As the old saying goes, clothes make the man and gold makes the god. With the backyard in such a broken state, it would be a miracle if any pilgrims actually wanted to come here. And when the visitors stop showing up, the gods become even less effective, causing the temple to fall further into decay. It is, quite frankly, a vicious cycle. Lu Chun bends down and searches for quite a while before finally finding Chai Rong's shrine tucked away in a ruined corner. He sees that the tiles of the shrine are already shattered, and the paint on Chai Rong's clay statue is peeling away in flakes. The entire altar looks incredibly weak. Feeling a pang of sympathy, he doesn't rush to pray, but instead picks up some intact tiles from the ground. He replaces the broken ones on the shrine and clears away the surrounding weeds, yet the statue remains completely unresponsive. At this point, Luchun starts to feel a bit nervous. He tries his best to stay calm and simply kneels directly before the statue. He holds the incense high with both hands, unaware that as the smoke curls upward, a wisp of pure essence begins to rise from it. That essence travels far beyond the clouds, arriving at a golden palace. And this is where our story takes a celestial turn. Inside the heavenly June Wealth Temple, the deity Chai Rong sits upon a meditation mat. Suddenly, he snaps his eyes open. He murmurs in a suppressed, surprised voice, wondering how a mortal could possibly be offering him worship after all this time. Just then, the temple doors are pushed open as an attendant rushes in, his face lit up with genuine joy. The attendant exclaims that a wisp of incense smoke has actually flown into their wealth temple. Chai Rong replies that he has already received it. He hadn't expected that after so long, someone in the mortal realm would still remember him. He notes that this person even knows the secret arts of divine communication. Clearly, this mortal's background is not as simple as it seems. And so, the deity decides to descend to the lower realm to see for himself who this mysterious worshipper might be. He tells himself he must try a few more times to make a clear judgment. He isn't discouraged because deep down, he knows that instant success was a luxury, while failure was perfectly expected. He quietly bids Lord Junkai farewell, promising to return another time before turning to leave. But then, a voice commands him to stop. At that moment, an ethereal and holy voice echoes from behind. His feet freeze in place, and his pupils contract, as he spins around to see the clay statue within the shrine glowing with a faint, divine golden light. He offers his humble greetings to Lord Junkai, identifying himself as Luchun. The deity simply tells him to stand up. The god grants him leave from formalities, noting that he hasn't tasted the incense of the mortal world for many years. Chai Rong admits he hadn't expected a mortal to still remember him, then asks the young man if he has come seeking wealth. Luchun decides to be blunt and confirms he seeks fortune. The deity then asks why he chose this path. He questions why Luchun didn't worship the famous god of wealth, Zhao, instead of coming here to find him. After all, the world says that Zhao is far superior for those seeking riches. Luchun respectfully replies to Lord Junkai, explaining that the world is simply ignorant and blind to the deity's true worth and noble standing. He points out that as the Emperor of Wealth, Chai Rong is the head of the 5 paths of fortune and the true master of luck. The deity is genuinely surprised to find that there is still someone in the mortal realm who remembers this. He is impressed that Luchun knows his title as the Emperor of Wealth and his original name, Chai Rong. We learn that he was the Emperor Shizong of the later Zhou, a legendary figure who was said to be a celestial star reborn. He had been a merchant in his youth and later implemented policies to enrich the people, loving them like his own children. The world once called him Lord Chai before enshrining him as a god of wealth. Luchun asks if he has spoken correctly. The deity praises him, surprised that someone so young knows his history so intimately. Since the boy is so sincere, the god decides he cannot refuse. Though he is a god of commerce, he offers to grant Luchun a stroke of luck today. The deity promises that fortune will flow his way and blessings will fill his home, then bids him leave and remember to return to fulfill his vows. Luchun offers his thanks as the golden light on the clay statue begins to fade. Once the divine glow has completely vanished, he suddenly feels a strange sensation and looks up to see a light, drizzling rain of gold falling from the sky. As the golden mist washes over him, he realizes this must be the divine opportunity Lord Junkai has bestowed upon him. It feels incredible. Combined with the knowledge from his past life, he realizes that in this new world, the possibilities are now endless. At this moment, he can finally be certain that his previous life's theories can be put into practice here. After returning home, he begins to plot the next steps of his grand plan. Lord Junkai had told him that this wave of good fortune would last for 2 days, which meant that tomorrow, he would definitely need to cash in. Given his current situation, earning his first pot of gold is the only way to build a solid foundation for the future. After all, if he can't even afford incense money, his path to becoming stronger will be cut very short indeed. However, 2 days of luck is far too brief. To succeed, he knows he must build a deeper relationship with the deity. He needs to increase his divine favor, his connection to the god. The first method to do this quickly, and perhaps the most obvious one, is to continuously spend money on lavish offerings and rituals. But for a man who is currently penniless, that is clearly not a realistic option at the moment. The second way is to help the deity gain more fame and followers to increase the temple's incense fire. But since people already believe obscure gods are ineffective, changing public opinion is a difficult task. So, that won't work either. The third option is to complete specific tasks or trials set by the deity itself. This is the most effective method, but it has a catch. His divine favor must already be at a certain level. He likely needs 20 or even 30% favor to even qualify for a task, which is no easy feat. And then there is the fourth method, to officially invite the god and establish a proper temple. This involves inviting the deity from the temple to be enshrined in one's own home, but in this world, inviting a god costs millions, which is simply not a realistic option for Lu Chen right now. After much thought, he has a sudden spark of inspiration. The essence of incense is the power of collective will. But if we consider which method allows a deity to gain merit most quickly, performing a ritual is unmatched. In the Taoist gates, the Luo Tian Grand Ceremony is the ultimate ritual. No other can claim to be its equal. It is a feast of merit for the gods. A single ceremony can satisfy the entire heavens at once. Naturally, it also brings favorable weather and peace to the mortal realm. Of course, a grand ritual like that is far beyond his current reach, but performing a few minor rituals is something he can certainly handle. He decides that when he returns to fulfill his vow, he will test this theory with Lord Junkai. The next morning, after a quick breakfast, he leaves home to find his old classmate, Deng Jejia. Since he is blessed with a stroke of luck, specifically the kind for windfall wealth, he seeks the fastest way to cash in. At Jejia's lottery shop, he pays for a scratch card and immediately begins scraping it with a coin. As expected, he wins 260,000. But just as he celebrates, his body suddenly jolts violently. In that instant, he feels completely drained. His luck has run dry. He quickly tries one more card. And as he suspected, he doesn't win a single cent this time. Still, turning 100 into a fortune is plenty. With the prize money in hand and a smile on his face, he pulls out 500 in cash and taps the table. He offers it as a red envelope to share the luck, but Jejia waves it off, refusing to take his money. The two begin to chat across the counter. Jejia asks how he's been, mentioning the divine favor exam next week. She lets him in on a secret. Starting with their class, the academy is changing the rules for students. The passing threshold is now 2%. Anyone below that level of divine favor will be asked to leave the school. The pressure to change things is mounting. We hear that several dangerous secret realms have recently appeared across the country. With the number of monsters growing, the state can no longer hold the line. This restructuring is simply a way to increase competition. In short, they want to handpick the best talents for elite training, while the ordinary students are sent out into society to find their own way. That would be a massive shift. Lu Chen wonders aloud if those who manage to stay will receive any special support. Deng Jejia isn't entirely sure of the details, but she suspects the academy will certainly become much more demanding. She believes they might be sent to the mission hall early. After all, the school won't let them stay comfortable forever. The best way to toughen them up is to force an early adaptation to society, which perfectly aligns with the government's new goals. It makes sense. If this is truly the case, then Jejia's relatives were right to warn her. This will be a new era where opportunity and risk exist side by side. After chatting for a few more minutes, we see Lu Chun take his leave as the hour grows late. On the way home, he finds himself dwelling on Jejia's words. If the academy really does grant senior students the right to take on missions early, it changes everything for him. To be honest, this is a stroke of incredible luck. His original plan involved a much slower, more cautious path. He had intended to spend years quietly earning money and slowly building his strength by enshrining lesser-known deities. He thought he'd have to wait until graduation to earn rewards and military merit, but now, that long wait will be significantly shortened. It means he can stop wasting time and start his real climb to the top much sooner. With over 200,000 in his pocket, he isn't worried about incense money for now. It is time to focus on combat power. Since Lord Wenshang and Lord Junkai are both support-type deities, he realizes he needs to enshrine a true warrior next. He decides to head back to the temple, but first, he needs to prepare a few things, specifically, some offerings. He wants to see if a formal ritual actually works for these deities, while also fulfilling his standing vow to Lord Junkai. Never one to hesitate, he spends the entire afternoon gathering the necessary items until everything is finally ready. Carrying a backpack, Lu Chun returns once more to the Zhao family temple, where the crowds of pilgrims are as thick as ever. He heads straight to the incense counter to request a stick of black incense, specifically intended for Lord Junkai, Chairo. Purchasing it requires a divinity synchronization of over 5%, a condition he fortunately meets. But as he walks away, the staff member at the counter suddenly picks up a phone, his eyes fixed intently on Lu Chen's retreating figure. He reports to his superior that the boy from yesterday has returned, seemingly to fulfill a vow already. The voice on the other end is surprised he's back so soon, noting that the young man seems quite greedy indeed. After the call ends, we see Lu Chun in another part of the temple, lighting the black incense and reciting the divine incantation. In the heavenly realm, within the hall of Lord Junkai, the deity Chai Rong sits upon his meditation cushion and takes a sudden, deep breath. A wave of exceptionally rich incense smoke enters his body, instantly refreshing his spirit. It's that youth again. It seems the boy has come into quite a significant fortune. Soon, that ethereal and holy voice echoes once more. Lu Chen offers his greetings to Lord Junkai, who remarks on how remarkably proactive the young man has been. In a mere half-day, the financial luck the deity bestowed upon him has already been put to use. The deity asks him how it felt to receive such an unexpected windfall. Lu Chen replies that the Lord's power is truly magnificent, and even a slight gesture from him was life-changing. He claims the blessing reached the very limit of what he could imagine, and his admiration for the deity is boundless. He goes as far as to say his respect flows like a surging river that never ends, which is a bit much, really. Lord Junkai chuckles, noting that while the boy was respectful yesterday, he has certainly learned to be a smooth talker today. However, the deity offers a stern reminder: wealth that comes easily can leave just as quickly. He granted the blessing because of Lu Chen's sincerity, but warns him not to become obsessed with easy money. He must not fall into the trap of greed, lest he find himself unable to escape the lure of quick riches. Lu Chun bows deeply, promising that the Lord's teachings will be engraved in his heart from this day forward. He vows to walk the righteous path and never allow his mind to be clouded by easy riches. Lord Chai Rong is pleased. Having accepted the incense, he prepares to return to the heavenly realm, but pauses. After a moment of thought, he offers one last piece of advice. If Lu Chun remains sincere, he should return often. He suggests that by offering incense every few days, his sincerity will naturally ensure that fortune follows him. To be honest, Lu Chun can barely keep a straight face, as the deity's meaning couldn't be any clearer. If he keeps the incense coming, the deity will look after him, but a god can't exactly ask for a bribe. So instead, the deity uses the more elegant phrasing that fortune naturally follows the truly sincere. Lu Chun thanks him, but quickly asks the Lord to wait, as he has something special he wishes to present. He reaches into his backpack for something he prepared earlier, a package he claims contains gold and silver treasures. He hopes the deity won't despise such humble gifts, but Lord Junkai is immediately skeptical of these worldly items. The deity reminds the young man that he only accepts incense, and that common mortal trinkets are of no use. He tells Lu Chun that he has no way to enjoy such things, and suggests he simply take them back home. Lu Chun urges him not to worry, explaining that these are no ordinary treasures, and asks for just one moment. If it works, it will be a true token of his gratitude. He then places a yellow paper bundle on the ground. He lights the bundle, known in Taoist circles as a golden cloud wrap, which contains specialized spirit money. This isn't just any paper money. It's called sprinkled gold, specifically crafted as an offering for the gods above. Inside, he has also placed dragon and phoenix garments, not currency, but items he has drawn by hand. He even included several sets of robes for the deity, finishing the gift with a transcribed merit golden script. Meanwhile, Lord Junkai watches this display with utter confusion, wondering why the boy is suddenly starting a fire. Suddenly, the boy starts burning paper. From ancient times to the present, mortals have offered everything from incense to various sacrifices. However, times have changed, and these offerings have evolved from simple fruits and snacks into something far more potent. Modern offerings are now spiritual objects imbued with great merit and power, though such items are exceptionally rare and precious. Ordinary deities like him, who achieved sainthood through merit, rarely get a taste of such treasures, as high-ranking spirits claim them first. But since when did burning paper become a proper offering? Lord Junkai, despite his long tenure as a god, finds himself in a total knowledge-blind spot. As the flames of the golden cloud wrap grow more intense, something truly unexpected begins to happen. Suddenly, the fire surges with an intensity that defies common logic. With a sudden roar, 10,000 golden rays erupt. Lord Juansai's expression stiffens in shock as he looks around, wondering if this is just incense. He quickly realizes something is wrong. The golden light rapidly converges, first transforming into a stack of paper currency. The bills hover and spiral right before his eyes. As Lord Junkai stares at the glowing stack, his divine eyes narrow in disbelief. He realizes this isn't ordinary paper. To his absolute shock, he recognizes it as celestial gold. How could this boy possibly possess celestial gold? It should be impossible, utterly impossible. Celestial gold only circulates within the heavenly realm. How could a mere mortal have his hands on the currency of the gods? Lord Junkai refuses to believe it at first, but after checking again and again, he is certain it is indeed genuine celestial gold. A wave of shock crashes over him. As a deity in the heavenly finance department, his monthly salary is only about 700 or 800 gold. The amount Lu Chun is burning right now is worth a year and a half of his salary. He begins to wonder which one of them is actually the god of wealth. Before Lord Junkai can even calm his racing heart, the golden light gathers once more, beginning to solidify into a new shape. This time, it isn't currency, but several sets of exquisitely crafted silk robes that look incredibly valuable. He wonders who this boy really is. Even as a god, he has never heard of or seen such a secret ritual before. Where did a mere mortal learn such things? And yet, the surprises are far from over. As the ritual concludes, we see the entire divine space erupt in 10,000 rays of golden light, which begin to transform into countless golden lotuses. These lotuses flow directly into Lord Juansai's divine body. This is pure merit. To think that a small bundle of yellow paper could contain such power. It seems there is more to this than meets the eye. The boy is actually offering merit directly. How is this even possible? Furthermore, the merit contained in that single bundle of paper is equivalent to the incense offerings of 10,000 people. A staggering amount, really. Lord Junkai is completely shaken. For a deity like him, who achieved sainthood through merit, such energy is the very foundation of his existence. Without merit, a god of his kind will eventually lose their divine powers, and over time, even their immortal lifespan will run dry. Only the primordial spirits are granted true immortality by the heavens. For everyone else, the clock is always ticking, however slowly. He has no idea what methods this boy is using to manifest merit so directly, but the results are undeniable. This merit is the real deal, solid and pure. In an instant, Lord Juensai's expression becomes incredibly complex. He demands to know the boy's lineage and why he possesses such miraculous secret arts. Tell me the truth at once, he commands. Lu Chen's pupil's contract. His plan has worked. He respectfully addresses the deity, claiming he truly doesn't know his family's full background. He suggests that if his ancestors hadn't possessed some unique skills, the Lu family would have likely vanished into history long ago. He explains that they wouldn't have survived until today otherwise. As for the methods he just used, he decides to be honest with the Great One. He claims he learned these techniques from a secret ancestral manual. After reading only a few pages, the scroll supposedly caught fire on its own. The knowledge was then instantly branded into his mind through a divine transmission. He wonders aloud if this was also the work of his ancestors. He attributes it all to that legendary family heirloom, which, to be perfectly honest, doesn't actually exist. It was a clever bit of improvisation on his part to mention the secret manual that had supposedly been lost to time. He adds the detail about the scroll burning to prevent the god from asking to see it. A very practical lie, all things considered. He tells the deity that while he sought a clever way to offer worship, he also wanted to see if these secret arts actually worked. Finally, he speaks of gratitude, noting that a drop of kindness should be repaid with a surging spring. Without the Lord's blessing, he would be nothing. He even mentions how his ancestors are still going hungry, squeezing out a few tears to emphasize that a drop of kindness deserves a fountain of gratitude. The emotional display is quite convincing. Inside the statue, Lord Junkai watches Lu Chen's performance and can't help but feel a twitch at the corner of his mouth. He tells himself that perhaps meeting this boy was simply his destiny. It seems their fates are now intertwined. The deity notes that Lu Chen is clearly a person of great opportunity, and that his ancestors must have been extraordinary to have fallen this far. He assumes the family must have suffered a great catastrophe. My young friend, he begins, his tone shifting significantly. We see the address change from junior to young friend. It's a clear sign that Lu Chen's standing in the god's eyes is skyrocketing. Lu Chen quickly agrees, praising Lord Juensai's insight. Since the atmosphere is right, the deity decides to accept the offering. Considering the boy's filial piety and sincerity, the Lord declares he will no longer refuse the gift. Lu Chen urges him to take it all, claiming that if it helps the Great One, he will have no other regrets in life. Then, as if remembering something, he mentions that his ancestral secret arts contain another method. He claims this method can provide the equivalent of 100,000 incense offerings. The deity is nearly floored by the suggestion. Lord Juensai's expression in the divine space is one of pure shock. He wonders if the boy truly possesses such a heaven-defying technique. He almost asks if it's true, but catches himself. He tells himself to show some restraint. After all, he is a god. He shouldn't be so easily swayed by a mortal. But then he thinks, this is 100,000 offerings. Who could possibly resist that? Even a mountain couldn't stand firm against such a temptation. My young friend, he says, we can discuss the merit later. He suddenly proposes a suggestion, asking if the boy would be willing to do him the honor of listening. Lu Chen replies that the Lord is being far too polite and asks him to speak his mind. The deity explains that he felt an instant connection with the boy from the moment they met, which brought him great joy. He then makes a startling proposal. Why don't the two of them become sworn brothers? He asks Lu Chen what he thinks. Lu Chen agrees immediately, but as the words leave his mouth, he realizes something is very wrong and feels a sudden shiver. He stares wide-eyed at the statue, his mind racing to catch up. Wait, did the deity just suggest they become sworn brothers? Once the reality of the situation sinks in, Lu Chen immediately drops to his knees, shouting, "Big brother, please accept my bow." Lord Junkai is clearly delighted, letting out a series of hearty laughs. To be honest, he seems even more excited than the boy. He declares it a magnificent day for their brotherhood, noting that since they are now family, he cannot let Lu Chen leave empty-handed. The deity admits he doesn't have much on hand, but he offers a wealth-passing ingot, hoping his virtuous little brother will accept it. With this treasure, the god explains, Lu Chen's chances of success in any business venture will increase by a staggering 30%. Suddenly, a golden light flashes, and a pendant shaped like a traditional ingot appears before him, radiating a brilliant, shimmering glow. Feeling quite pleased with himself, Lu Chen doesn't hesitate to accept the magical treasure and hangs it around his neck immediately. The deity adds that the ingot has a special effect, a random chance to trigger a 100% success rate for any endeavor. If he hears the distinct sound of a copper coin falling, it means the effect has been triggered. Lu Chun is absolutely floored. He tells his new brother that this is far too valuable, but Lord Junkai insists there is no need for such polite formalities between them. Beyond the ingot, the deity decides to bestow a divine ability upon him as well, a mystical technique known as the treasure-seeing eye. With this power, Lu Chun will be able to perceive the true value of every single object in the mortal world. As soon as the words are spoken, another beam of golden light erupts from the statue, shooting directly into the boy's eyes. He instinctively closes his eyes against the glare, and when he finally opens them again, the world looks entirely different. Imagine seeing the world transformed into a digital display. Every object now has a numerical value floating right in front of it. With another blink, the numbers vanish, showing he has already mastered the technique. He quickly thanks his brother for the two treasures. Lu Chun expresses his deepest gratitude, but the deity waves it off, saying he is equally grateful for the gifts the boy brought him. Lord Junkai confesses that his current divine power is only a shadow of what it once was, which limits what he can provide. He sighs, admitting that if he were at full strength, he would have given his little brother even better treasures and abilities. Lu Chun naturally understands how vital incense and merit are to a deity who achieved sainthood through them, so he bows deeply to his new brother. He assures the god that he will do everything in his power to provide merit, though he adds a small, calculated, but to the conversation. He explains that while the secret techniques recorded by his ancestors are mystical and wondrous, their requirements are also incredibly demanding. They require the user to drive secret incantations with spiritual power. The stronger the spell, the higher the demands on one's own strength. If one's strength is insufficient, they must offer their own spiritual essence as a sacrifice to make the ritual work. To be perfectly honest, all this talk of spiritual essence is complete nonsense he's making up on the spot to raise the stakes. In reality, it only costs him a bit of physical effort and some raw materials. But he has his reasons for this little deception. There are two reasons. First, he understands the philosophy that giving too much too easily often leads to resentment rather than gratitude. Even though they are now brothers, he is well aware of the true motivation behind Lord Juansai's sudden desire for a blood oath. Deep down, he knows the deity only values him for his unique ability to provide a massive amount of divine merit. If he were to give Lord Junkai an unlimited supply of these offerings right away, the value of the incense and merit would plummet. And if that happened, it wouldn't be nearly as easy for him to squeeze more benefits out of the deity in the future. Lord Junkai tells his virtuous little brother not to worry or feel rushed about the process. He says there is plenty of time, though we can see a hint of disappointment flickering in the deity's eyes. But on second thought, it makes sense. If such a heaven-defying incantation were easy to perform, it would violate the laws of nature. The deity then asks what level of strength is actually required to perform such a powerful and restrictive secret spell. Lu Chun replies respectfully, telling his big brother that he isn't entirely sure of the exact requirements just yet. However, he estimates that he would likely need to reach a certain level of cultivation before it becomes possible. He suggests he must become at least a third-rank spirit user. In this world, these practitioners are divided into 9 distinct ranks. First rank is just the beginning, while 9th is the peak. A third-rank spirit user already possesses quite formidable combat power. The core of this system relies on the bond between the practitioner and the deity, known as divine synchronicity. The higher it is, the more blessings one receives. Not only can one receive blessings, but they can also earn various divine rewards. Furthermore, every time a successful offering is made to a deity, a portion of divine power remains with the spirit user, which is then naturally transformed into the practitioner's own spiritual mana. Even if the deity doesn't actively grant blessings or secret treasures, as long as the offerings continue over a long enough period, the mana within the spirit user will accumulate, allowing them to grow stronger. To reach the third rank, however, is no small feat. Lord Junkai admits that as a god of wealth, his ability to directly boost Lu Chen's personal strength is somewhat limited. Moreover, since this is someone else's temple and territory, it further restricts the amount of divine power the deity can leave behind in his body. So, the deity proposes a plan. Lu Chen should go and find out exactly what the price would be to bring his big brother home. The elder brother then asked what the price would be to bring him home, wondering if his younger brother could actually afford to take him back and offer him a place of worship. In this way, every 5 offerings would be equivalent to an extra session compared to the temple. It's a clever bit of divine math, really. While the difference might seem small, it is certainly better than nothing. And there is one more benefit to this arrangement. As long as Lu Chun enshrines him at home, no matter when his little brother calls for him, Lord Junkai promises he will always answer the invitation and appear. He asks his virtuous brother what he thinks of the idea. The prospect of bringing the god of wealth home makes Lu Chen's eyes light up. It's a brilliant suggestion, to say the least. If he truly brings the deity back, it means he has officially secured a powerful patron. Why worry about money ever again? In a moment of pure excitement, he immediately tells his big brother that it's a magnificent idea and that he was thinking the exact same thing. He adds that he cannot bear to see his brother stuck in such a dilapidated place, though he lacks the means to build a proper temple just yet. But he promises that once he has grown his wings, he will build a magnificent golden palace to honor the god of wealth's true name. Lord Junkai is visibly moved by the promise of his own temple. He looks at his brother with a mix of hope and disbelief. He asks if those words are truly sincere, and Lu Qin responds with absolute, unwavering certainty. He means every word. Lord Junkai is overwhelmed with joy, praising his virtuous brother and admitting he hadn't misjudged him. After years of being down on his luck, he had nearly given up. He never expected the heavens to show such mercy, allowing him to meet someone as loyal and righteous as Lu Chun. To be honest, words can hardly express his gratitude. Lu Chun has reignited his spirit, and in return, the deity promises to go all out to ensure his brother's wealth flows freely, never to be troubled by money again. Hearing this, Lu Chun is equally moved, trembling with excitement as he assures his big brother that he can count on him completely. The two of them share a moment of deep, mutual respect, calling out to one another as virtuous brother and big brother with heartfelt sincerity. It is a touching scene, though we suspect that if anyone else were watching this display of affection right now, they would have to give these two veteran actors a big thumbs up for their performance. Once the sentimental moment passes, Lord Junkai regains his composure and tells Lu Chun to proceed with the plan, though he adds one important piece of advice. If he wants to reach the third rank as a spirit user quickly, the best way is to offer sacrifices to one of the 5-path deities. He suggests Lu Chun make a choice and let him know, promising to put in a good word to help him out. Since it's getting late, they decide to end the session there, with the deity waiting for news. Lu Chun respectfully sees his big brother off as the golden light within the statue suddenly fades away. Lu Chun lets out a long breath, feeling like he's truly hit the jackpot today. A victory of epic proportions, really. Not only did he test the effects of his offerings, but he also became sworn brothers with Lord Junkai and gained both treasures and divine powers. The key takeaway is that from now on, he has connections in high places. He imagines how wonderful it would be to build a temple at home for multiple deities. As he leaves and passes by the Hall of the Thunder Ancestor, he suddenly comes to a halt, struck by a new idea. The Thunder Ancestor is the supreme deity of the Thunder Department. Gaining his favor would make dealing with demon-infested dungeons a breeze. Deciding to strike while the iron is hot, he turns around and heads to the incense counter to request 20 sticks of incense for the Thunder Ancestor. However, when the staff member sees him literally bathed in a lingering golden glow, his eyes widen in pure shock. Turning pale, the worker stammers, asking if he has actually succeeded again. Lu Chun modestly claims it was just a bit of luck. The worker can hardly believe it, noting that his luck must be astronomical, considering he is currently glowing like a human light bulb. The worker jokes that if Lu Chun stands outside at night, he won't even need to turn on the lights, marveling at the sheer magnitude of the blessing he received. He urgently suggests that Lu Chun go test his spirit synchronization immediately, as the sight of him is, to be honest, quite terrifying to behold. Lu Chun agrees to the test, but asks for his incense first, before making his way toward the testing window to see where he stands. Behind him, a man in a sharp suit weaves through the crowd, approaching the testing area with a gaze that feels far from friendly. Sensing the stare, Lu Chun glances back and finds the man watching him intently with crossed arms. His ID badge simply reads Manager. A faint sense of dread washes over him, as he wonders if the temple staff are worried he might actually damage their prestigious reputation. It is common knowledge that the Zhao clan temple is famous for Zhao Gongming, the primary god of wealth, and they guard that legacy fiercely. Now that Lu Chun has received such immense blessings from Lord Junkai, word will surely spread, potentially causing a surge in Juansai's popularity. Naturally, if Juansai's influence grows, it might diminish the offerings meant for the main Zhao deity, a situation the temple management would find unacceptable. It explains the manager's sour expression, really. Meanwhile, the testing instrument hums to life, beginning its deep, mechanical drone. After a few tense seconds, the screen flickers and displays a single line of cold, clinical text that changes everything. It reads, Lord Junkai, 43%. In an instant, the entire hall erupts into a frenzy of shocked whispers and excitement. The manager, whose name is Zhao Jihong, has remained silent until now, but he finally breaks his composure to send Lu Chun a private message. He tells the young man that while they welcome offerings to other immortals at the Zhao temple, Lord Junkai is now strictly off limits. Lu Chun is baffled. Even if Junkai and the main Zhao deity are technically competitors, they are both housed within the same temple walls. He argues that if Junkai prospers, the temple as a whole shouldn't suffer any loss, but Jihong merely scoffs at his logic. The manager notes that while the analysis is correct, Lu Chun has overlooked the most important detail of all, the family name on the door. Lu Chun realizes there is no room for negotiation here, so he stops arguing and simply asks what would happen if he insisted on returning. Jihong lets out a cold, mocking laugh, asking Lu Chun if he truly believes the choice to offer sacrifices is even his to make. He reminds him that the imperial court has clear regulations. Unless there is a fundamental conflict of character, no one can stop a devotee. The manager laughs, reminding Lu Chun that while the temple can't stop a devotee from offering sacrifices, they have other ways to exert control. Zhao Jihong stops hiding his intentions, telling Lu Chun not to accuse him of breaking the law while he simply manages his temple. He explains that just as they can introduce new deities, they also have the absolute right to remove any whose offerings fall below standards. If he were to simply remove Lord Juansai's altar from the premises, he wonders aloud how Lu Chun would manage to make his offerings then. In the entire Jiang province, the number of places where one can worship an obscure deity like Junkai is incredibly small, practically non-existent. Since the Zhao clan temple is the only one hosting him, removing his altar would mean that within the entire province's borders, Lu Chun would never find another place to practice his devotion. It is a cold, calculated threat delivered with a smug smirk. Jihong is no longer hiding his obsession with performance metrics. Lu Chen's face turns pale. He truly hadn't expected the Zhao family to be this shameless. But while Jihong thinks he has the upper hand, Lu Chun has a few tricks of his own. If the manager wants to remove the deity, so be it. He points out that the imperial court regulates the price for inviting a deity privately, and he knows the law quite well. For a deity like Junkai, whose offerings are nearly zero, the legal price to invite him to a private altar is between 6 and 800,000. The temple can legally increase that by 20%, making the maximum 96,000. If he pays, they must comply. Lu Chun stares him down, asserting that they must agree to let him invite the god. Jihong just looks at him like he's a fool. He asks the boy where he expects to find nearly 1,000,000 credits, noting that yesterday's blessing likely only netted him a fraction of that. The payment window for inviting a deity is only 1 week. He mocks Lu Chun, asking if he can really scrounge up 100,000 a day. Furthermore, he knows Junkai is a god of business talent. He might grant a windfall of luck once, but lightning rarely strikes twice. He tells Lu Chun to thank his lucky stars for the first blessing, because a second one is, to be perfectly honest, completely impossible. Jihong is fearless because he holds all the cards, and his words show he has seen right through Lu Chen's current financial situation. Lu Chen can't help but feel that compared to a low-level villain like Song Hao, this manager is on an entirely different level of cunning. There is no point in arguing further. At this stage, Lu Chen realizes he has no choice but to find a way to meet those impossible terms. It's clear that the Zhao family intends to sever his connection with Lord Junkai once and for all. But just as the two are locked in this tense confrontation, a sudden commotion erupts from outside the temple. We see 2 rows of men in black suits marching in, roughly pushing the local villagers aside to clear the way. They create a wide, open space, making room for an elegant and clearly wealthy procession to enter the grounds. Leading the group is a middle-aged man with a steady, commanding presence. Though he looks young, his hair is already white. Beside him is a cold, beautiful woman whose jade-like features immediately capture the attention of every villager present. Even Lu Chun finds himself momentarily distracted by her striking appearance as the group approaches. Manager Zhao Jihong, upon seeing the newcomers, instantly drops his arrogant facade and rushes forward with a bow. He puts on a smile more subservient than we've ever seen, greeting the leader as President's son with desperate enthusiasm. This is Sun Qinchao, the head of the Sun family from the south, one of the 4 great clans of Jiangdu City. The city is ruled by the Zhao, Sun, Wang, and Qian families, each controlling one of the 4 major temples. Lu Chen realizes why the woman looks familiar. She is Sun Yurong, a prominent figure from the Sun clan. President Sun asks if the arrangements have been made, and Jihong assures him that everything is perfectly in order. He explains that as soon as he received the orders, he cleared the Hall of Longevity to prepare for their arrival. Jihong beams, telling them he has been waiting for their distinguished presence. Sun nods, noting the manager's diligence. Sun promises a generous reward once the matter is settled, then turns to announce that it is time for Master Tan to step forward. Everyone turns toward the entrance, where a lean, middle-aged man with a goatee appears, looking quite aloof and superior. The crowd begins to whisper in shock as they recognize him. It is indeed Tan Kuan, a man of significant reputation. Known by the nickname, the Immortal of Longevity, Master Tan walks calmly towards Sun Qinchao with an air of mystery. Sun tells the master that everything now rests in his hands, and Tan simply replies with a confident nod. Master Tan declares he will do everything in his power to pray for the old master's longevity, and with that, the group sets off. Led by Zhao Jihong himself, they head straight for the Hall of Longevity, leaving the surrounding villagers to finally break their silence. The whispers grow louder, confirming that the rumors were true. The Sun family patriarch has suddenly collapsed. Word on the street is that his life force is fading and he may pass away any day now, which explains the family's desperation. The Suns have been frantically searching for any spirit master capable of extending life, hoping to buy the old master more time. The reward they are offering is, quite frankly, astronomical, a detail that certainly doesn't go unnoticed by those nearby. Lu Chun pricks up his ears, sharply catching those key words about the massive payout, even though Tan's power is only at the second rank. However, his synchronization with the god of longevity is rumored to be a staggering 47%, a rare feat indeed. In fact, that likely puts him in the top 3 in the entire province, leading many to believe the old master might actually be saved. As the crowd rushes to witness the spectacle, Lu Chun follows them toward the Hall of Longevity, curious to see how this unfolds. This is his first time seeing a spirit master take on a high-end contract, especially for a prestigious client like the Sun family. By the time he arrives, the hall is completely surrounded, packed so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak through. The guards formed a human wall, stretching out a security line to keep the curious villagers several meters away from the inner hall. Inside the temple, the statue of the god of longevity looks down with a kind yet majestic gaze upon the few people allowed inside. There, the immortal of longevity, Tankuan, has already begun the ritual, holding a stick of purple incense with practiced grace. The onlookers begin to place bets on how many offerings it will take for the master to succeed, perhaps just one, if he's lucky. If luck isn't on his side, it could take over a dozen attempts, which, to be honest, is perfectly normal for a ritual of this scale. Listening to the chatter, Lu Chun notes that while Tankuan is only a second-rank spirit master, his status is quite extraordinary. He is treated with more respect than a 5th or even 6th rank master, receiving a level of deference that most could only dream of. And all of this is simply because the god of longevity is one of the most sought-after deities in the land. Intrigued by the conversation, Lu Chun turns to the 2 men placing bets and asks how much Master Tan usually charges for his services. They admit they aren't sure of the exact price, but mention a time when Master Tan received 7 million to grant someone a single year of life. When Lu Chun asks about the maximum extension possible, we learn that a single ritual can only grant 1 additional year of time. Furthermore, Master Tan has a strict rule: a person can only ask twice, as anything more would be seen as defying the natural order of heaven. Lu Chun narrows his eyes at this, thinking that if he were to worship a deity capable of extending life, he might just take a share of Tankuan's business. The idea of taking a bite out of that massive profit is certainly tempting, and who could blame him, really, given the stakes involved? Inside the Hall of Longevity, Master Tan suddenly opens his eyes with a look of confusion, as his first offering has failed without any explanation. It is quite strange, as he usually receives at least some small response whenever he attempts to communicate with the god of longevity. He wonders why, on this particular day, there isn't even a single ripple of spiritual power responding to his call within the temple. A faint sense of unease begins to settle over Tankuan, yet he takes a deep breath and raises the incense box before him once more. However, the second attempt is also a failure, and we see small beads of cold sweat beginning to form on Tankuan's worried forehead. His heart begins to race, and without stopping to rest, he lights the incense again, only for the third attempt to end in silence. A fourth failure follows, then a fifth, and Tankuan is left staring in disbelief, wondering how things could have gone so terribly wrong. He begins to fear that perhaps the god of longevity does not wish for him to grant this blessing to the Sun family at all. As his heart sinks, the Sun family's hopes begin to plummet alongside him. 1 or 2 failures are expected, but 10 in a row is another matter entirely. Sun Qinsang feels her anxiety growing exponentially, while Tankuan, refusing to give up, wipes his brow and prepares to try one more time. He lights a fresh stick of high-grade incense, and this time, a vibrant, colorful mist begins to swirl around his hands as he chants. The air hums with a clear and powerful spiritual fluctuation, leading everyone present to believe that the ritual is finally reaching its climax. But just as they think success is within their grasp, a sudden and unexpected spark of fire erupts from within the colorful mist. In the next second, that tiny spark spreads like wildfire, and the beautiful mist is consumed instantly, as if it were nothing more than dry cotton. Inside the hall, Tankuan's eyes suddenly bulge as the flames condense into a massive fireball with a deafening roar. The blast slams into Tankuan's chest, sending him flying backward like a broken kite as he coughs up a spray of fresh blood. He falls unconscious, leaving the pilgrims outside in a stunned silence that lasts only a moment before the crowd erupts like a dormant volcano. The ritual has failed spectacularly, and we see the terrifying consequences of a spiritual backlash on a master of his standing. People cry out in disbelief, realizing that with this failure, the Sun family patriarch is surely doomed, and they scramble to help. Several people rush to help Sun Qinsang into a chair, while her brother wails in despair, blaming himself for his own uselessness. It is a pitiful sight, and the Sun family members can do nothing but weep as they watch their hopes crumble before them. Even the onlookers are moved by the tragedy, but for Lu Chun, this is the moment he has been waiting for. He knows that besides the famous god of longevity, there are other deities capable of granting a longer life to those in need. First, there is Ma Gu, a female deity of longevity and attendant to the Queen Mother, who achieved sainthood through great merit. Compared to the main god of longevity, however, she is a rather obscure choice for most worshippers, as is the second option, Yin Shou. Yin Shou is one of the 6 stars of the South Pole, a deity who governs the end of life and possesses the power to preserve it. Then there is the Great Emperor of Long Life, also known as the Old Immortal of the South Pole, a truly formidable figure. As the senior disciple of Yuanshi Tianzuan and one of the 6 sovereigns, he stands on the same level as the Jade Emperor himself. Without wasting another second, Lu Chen hurries to the divine charts to search for the names of Ma Gu or Yin Shou. He knows better than to look for the Great Emperor of Long Life, as a city-level temple like this would never house such a high-ranking deity. But after a meticulous search through the main hall and the side wings, he finds absolutely nothing, not even a trace of them. He even checks the dense list of names in the backyard, reading every single one. Yet Ma Gu and Yin Shou are nowhere to be found. Lu Chen scratches his head in frustration, feeling the golden opportunity slipping through his fingers due to this unexpected complication. Deep down, he feels utterly dejected, his gaze wandering aimlessly across the temple as he tries to figure out his next move. Just as he is about to give up, 2 rows of characters on the divine chart suddenly catch his eye, topped by 4 striking words. They read, "The Underworld of the Dead," and just below, in smaller script, he sees the Hall of King Yin. Lu Chen's brow furrows as his mind instinctively jumps to a series of legendary terms. King Yin and the Book of Life and Death. He thinks of the Great Sage and the monkeys of Flower Fruit Mountain, each word triggering a chain reaction in his memory. And here we see the realization dawn on him. How could he have forgotten the most famous master of life and death in ancient lore? King Yin, also known as the Lord of the Underworld, is the deity who truly holds the keys to mortality. As one of the 10 kings of the underworld, he manages the Book of Life and Death, rewarding good and punishing evil across both realms. If we are talking about raw power over longevity, even the god of longevity might have to step aside for King Yin. After all, while deities like Ma Gu or Yin Shou can offer a helping hand, their abilities are mostly about adding a few extra years. King Yin is different. If he truly wishes for someone to live, he has the authority to make it happen indefinitely. The only catch, of course, is whether or not he is actually willing to do such a thing for a mortal. Furthermore, King Yin is a classic hidden gem in the spiritual world, much like the entire system of the underworld deities. Almost all of them are overlooked by modern worshippers, including the Great Emperor of Fengdu, which is quite ironic, really. Hardly anyone offers prayers to King Yin these days, and only the Supreme Empress Hutu receives any significant incense or offerings. As an ancient creator goddess, her status is far beyond the other underworld officials, making her the only one people still remember. With his mind racing, Lu Chen makes a swift and final decision on how to proceed with the Sun family's crisis. He chooses King Yin, turning on his heel to rush back toward the Hall of Longevity with renewed purpose. Inside the hall, despair hangs heavy in the air like a thick fog as Sun Qinsang sits slumped in his chair, looking utterly withered. His wife, Lady Song, hides her face in her hands while weeping, and their children stand by, paralyzed by their own helplessness. Sun Qinsang waves a trembling hand, his face as pale as ash, as he tells them all it is time to leave. At the front of the hall, the pilgrims automatically part to create a path as Sun Qinsang gazes at the distant setting sun. The fading light is as red as blood, deepening his sense of desolation. He grits his teeth, each step feeling impossibly heavy. Deep down, he feels he has failed his father, telling himself he did his best as he prepares to leave the temple behind. But just then, a clear voice rings out like a sudden clap of thunder, echoing through the square and startling everyone present. We see the crowd part at the end of the path, where Lu Chun stands in the distance, facing the Sun family. Sun Qinsang furrows his brow in confusion, while behind him, Zhao Jihong stands completely stunned by the young man's reappearance. He wonders why the boy hasn't left yet, but before he can shout a reprimand, Lu Chen speaks directly to the family head. He asks Sun Qinsang if he would be willing to let him try a ritual to pray for his father's longevity. These words are like a massive boulder dropping into a deep pool, instantly sending ripples of shock through the entire crowd. The area outside the Hall of Longevity erupts into an uproar, with people recognizing him as the lucky youth from before. They whisper in disbelief, wondering how someone who worships a god of wealth could suddenly claim to master life-extending rituals. To be honest, most of them think he is talking absolute nonsense, and Zhao Jihong is the first to voice his anger. He demands to know what Lu Chen thinks he's doing, reminding him that this sacred place is no venue for wild claims. He tells Lu Chen to get lost, turning to Sun Qinsang to warn him not to listen to such obvious lies. He points out that Lu Chen only follows an obscure deity no one has heard of, so he couldn't possibly know the secrets of longevity. Ignoring the surrounding noise, Lu Chen walks right up to Sun Qinsang, maintaining a calm and steady gaze. He notes that since Master Tan has collapsed, there are no better experts available, so there is truly nothing left to lose. He suggests that if he is allowed to try, he might just provide a pleasant surprise, which, naturally, only angers the staff further. As the temple workers step forward to remove the intruder, Sun Qinsang suddenly intervenes with a silent authority. With a casual wave of his hand, an invisible force freezes the workers in their tracks as he fixes his eyes on Lu Chun. His eyes sweep over Lu Chun like flashes of lightning as Sun Qinsang coldly declares that he has exactly 1 minute to explain his plan. The overwhelming aura of a fifth-rank leader presses down without restraint. Truly, the head of the Sun family is a force to be reckoned with. Lu Chun finds it difficult even to breathe, yet he manages to state that the gods of the three realms are not limited to just one deity of longevity. He explains that besides the usual figures, there are other immortals who possess the exact same power to grant a longer life. He mentions figures like Magu or the Star of Longevity. Yes, those two are indeed known for their divine ability to bestow years upon mortals. Unfortunately, as the crowd knows, there are no shrines or positions for those specific gods in the entire city of Jiangdu. Sun Yurong steps forward, her expression cold as ice, as she tells Lu Chun that she is already well aware of those deities. Lu Chun clarifies that he has no intention of praying to them. The god he wishes to invoke might be considered a bit unconventional by some. However, he insists that this particular deity truly possesses the power to grant the gift of longevity. When asked who this god is, Lu Chun calmly reveals his choice. He intends to pray to Yan Wang, the king of hell. The moment those three words leave his lips, a deathly silence falls over the entire hall, as if the air itself has suddenly frozen solid. Everyone stands as if under a paralysis spell, their eyes widening in unison at the sheer absurdity of praying to the king of hell for life. Zhao Jihong reacts as if he has just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world, letting out a burst of incredulous, mocking laughter. His laughter breaks the spell, and the surrounding crowd immediately erupts into a wave of jeers and frantic whispering. They wonder if they heard correctly, praying to the Lord of Death to ask for more life. Lu Chun simply ignores them and looks at the family head. He tells Sun Qinsang that his idea is on the table, and the decision to let him try rests entirely with the family. He points out that if he fails, there is no real loss. At most, they will have wasted a few minutes of their time. The staff bristles, shouting that the chairman's time is far too precious to be compared to a brat like him. They warn him that in Jiangdu, no one has ever dared to toy with the Sun family like this. He is the very first. Ignoring the noise, Sun Qinsang locks his gaze onto Lu Chun again, his voice carrying a dangerous edge as he notes that his son is right. Sun Qinsang continues, noting that while it's true no one in Jiangdu dares to toy with the Sun family, if Lu Chun fails to deliver, or if he cannot provide a reason that is truly convincing, then today, he might find himself in quite a bit of trouble. Lu Chun remains unfazed, offering to give the family head that reason right now, and it is a remarkably simple one. He turns to Zhao Jihong, suggesting that since they are strangers, Zhao should be the one to recount Lu Chun's performance from yesterday and today. Coming from Zhao's own mouth, Lu Chun notes with a hint of irony, the story would surely carry the most weight and credibility. In an instant, every eye in the hall shifts to focus on Zhao Jihong, especially the heavy, invisible pressure of Sun Qinsang's gaze. The intensity makes Zhao feel as if he's suffocating as he stammers out that yesterday, Lu Chun came to the temple to offer a sacrifice. With just a single stick of incense, Zhao explains, the boy managed to raise his divine perception to 5%. The members of the Sun family and the surrounding pilgrims are struck speechless by this news, their faces frozen in shock. Even in Sun Qinsang's eyes, a flicker of disbelief and suspicion passes. After all, such a feat is practically unheard of. The crowd begins to whisper that the boy must be some kind of freakish genius, but others claim that was nothing compared to today. They insist that what he did today was the truly explosive part, and though they don't know him, they saw it with their own eyes. Hearing the frantic murmurs of the crowd, Sun Qinsang feels his heart skip a beat as his curiosity is pulled to its absolute limit. He demands to know what happened next, his gaze cutting into Zhao Jihong like a blade, waiting for the rest of the story. Zhao trembles under the pressure, explaining that today, Lu Chun used another single stick of incense, and his perception rose again. It didn't just go up a little, it surged from 5% all the way to 43% in a single moment. At that revelation, the atmosphere in the hall completely and utterly explodes with noise and pure, unadulterated chaos. The shock on Sun Qinsang's face builds with visible speed, while beside him, Sun Yurong's eyes shimmer with a sudden, intense light. She instinctively covers her mouth, clearly falling into a state of total disbelief at the sheer impossibility of such a number. Behind them, Sun Xingwen, the Song family, and the uninformed pilgrims look on with their jaws practically dragging on the floor. One stick of incense to reach 5%, and then another to surge all the way to 43%. The sheer impossibility of it leaves everyone in the hall struggling to find their words. Sun Qinsang admits he doesn't know which incense Lu Chun needs, as his own perception of Yama remains at 0. Lu Chun suggests they prepare 3 sticks. Success or failure will be decided within those 3 attempts. Sun Qinsang agrees to the terms and instructs Supervisor Zhao to make the necessary arrangements for them. And so, our group travels together to the very end of a path, where they find a dilapidated hut. Even compared to the desolate backyard, the state of this shack is enough to make one's heart sink. Before they even draw near, they see an old plaque hanging over the rickety door of the small hut. It bears 4 large, blood-red characters, the underworld. Sun Xingwen gasps as a sudden chill fills the air. He feels a bone-chilling cold closing in from all sides, and cries out that the place looks haunted. Faintly seeing 2 green glows inside the hut, he cowers in fear behind his older sister, Sun Yurong. She calls him useless, seeing no such lights, and proceeds to push open the creaking door herself. In the heavy silence, the door lets out a haunting screech as they look inside the dark room. The interior holds only an old square table, upon which sit several memorial tablets of various sizes. There isn't even a basic shrine, let alone a statue. Lu Chen steps forward to take a closer look. The largest tablet in the center bears the name of King Yama, the ruler of the 5th court. To the left is the magistrate, and to the right are the black and white guards of the afterlife. Lu Chen gestures towards Sun Qinsang, suggesting that if there are no issues, they should sign the contract. Sun Qinsang nods, and with a wave of his hand, a formal contract appears as if from thin air. Regarding payment, he promises to match Master Tan's rates if Lu Chun can truly deliver on his word. If the ritual succeeds, Sun Qinsang promises to hand over a total of 30 million with both hands. Hearing this, Lu Chun feels a surge of excitement. This patriarch certainly doesn't hold back when it comes to money. Agreeing to the terms, Lu Chun watches as Sun Qinsang is the first to sign his name on the contract. As Lu Chun adds his own signature, the sound of falling copper coins suddenly rings out in his ears without warning. His pupils contract as he looks down at the wealth ingot hanging around his neck. Something has been triggered. The artifact has activated, meaning this contract is 100% guaranteed to succeed. Quite a handy trick, really. Looking at it this way, this fortune ingot actually had a bit of a conceptual feel to it. President Sun, sorry to keep you waiting, Zhao said as he approached. He apologized for the delay as Sun Qinsang took the incense. Sun scanned it with his divine sense to ensure there were no issues. Finally, he nodded. Hard work, clan leader Zhao. Young friend Lu, I'll be troubling you for the rest. It was time for the next step. Rest assured, Master Sun, Lu replied. I will give it my all. Now, if everyone could please wait outside for a moment. Once Sun Qinsang and his group had retreated outside, Lu lit a stick of incense and began to silently chant the spirit invocation. But this wasn't the usual prayer for the god of wealth. No, he was chanting the Yama heart curse, a direct line to the king of hell. As the words left his lips, the incense in his hand flared up, burning brighter and more fiercely with every passing second. In a world hidden from mortal eyes, a streak of pure essence shot into the air, twisting and turning until it transformed into a sharp blade. The blade plunged straight into the ground and vanished. Deep within the underworld, in the hall of Yama, a cold, ghostly wind began to moan. Eerie green soul lamps flickered along the dark path. At the end of the road, the massive, peeling red gates of the underworld slowly creaked open. Inside the chilling hall, the Oxhead and Horseface guardians stood on either side. Oxhead's eyes glowed a fierce, lamp-like red. Chains wrapped around his horns, while Horseface bared his tusks, his morning staff gleaming with a cold, murderous light. High upon the throne sat King Yama, a figure as massive as a mountain, reclining casually with his belly out like a great general. He held a wine gourd the size of 3 guardians combined, tilting it back and pouring spirits into his mouth without pause. At that very moment, a streak of golden light flew into the great hall. King Yama's eyes narrowed as he reached out, caught the light, and swallowed it in a single gulp. He let out a satisfied sigh. This was the pure essence of mortal incense, and to be honest, it tasted quite excellent. He mused that these mortal cultivators were truly insatiable, actually daring to direct their little schemes toward his own head. Did they really think the underworld, one of the 3 great realms, was just some common haunt for petty spirits? The audacity was almost impressive. His subordinates immediately stepped forward, begging for permission to capture the intruder, but the king of hell simply raised a hand to stop them. This fellow had managed to send an offering directly before his eyes, which suggested he possessed a fair bit of talent. And so, the king decided to investigate. He chuckled to himself, thinking it had been far too long since he last visited the mortal realm. Besides, he wanted another taste of that peculiar incense. Just as the thought crossed his mind, the massive figure of King Yama flickered and vanished from his throne, leaving the hall in a heavy silence. We returned to the Zhao clan temple, where the atmosphere inside the small room had suddenly shifted. A ghostly, freezing wind began to howl through the cracks. Aside from Sun Qinsang, who stood his ground, the others were hit by a chill so intense they couldn't help but shiver violently. Confused, they looked around for the source of the draft. It was then that Sun Yurong felt the light above her head suddenly grow dim. She instinctively looked up, and what she saw in that moment was enough to make anyone's blood run cold. It was a sight she would not soon forget. "Father, look," she cried out. Following the direction of her finger, the entire group turned their gaze upward and were instantly paralyzed by the scene. Above the humble hut, massive black clouds were pressing down, churning with the eerie glow of surging crimson flames. Sun Xingwen was so utterly terrified by the celestial display that he very nearly lost control of his bladder. And who could blame him, really? Zhao Jihong stood there with his mouth wide open, lost in a state of complete disbelief. Such a phenomenon was beyond anything he had ever imagined. Sun Qinsang, however, couldn't hide his soaring joy. But as he looked toward Lu Chun, he realized something was very, very different. The young man was now completely enveloped in a thick, swirling aura of dark energy. Instinctively, Sun Qinsang tried to rush toward him to help. But an invisible, irresistible force slammed into him, sending him flying backward. He stumbled for several steps before he could finally steady himself. Inside the room, Lu Chun watched with bated breath as a colossal, ghostly shadow began to manifest directly over the King Yama's spirit tablet. The air around them grew heavy as a chilling wind began to howl, sounding like the rhythmic scraping of a whetstone against a blade. A voice echoed from every direction at once, booming with authority. "Boy, you certainly have some nerve," the voice rumbled. "To think you would dare to summon me. Are you not afraid that I might simply decide to snatch your soul away right now?" Lu Chun bowed deeply toward the tablet. "Great King Yama, your disciple offers his greetings. But I am still quite young, and I fear I cannot go just yet. As for being afraid, why should I be? You are a righteous god of the three realms, great king. There is no reason for me to fear you." The voice paused, then erupted into a booming laugh. "So you aren't afraid? You are a cunning little brat, but I must admit, you have spirit. You aren't like those other cultivators who start trembling and lose their ability to speak the moment they lay eyes on me. Speak then. Why have you summoned me? What is it you desire?" As soon as the king finished speaking, the ghostly winds intensified, sounding like the weeping of 10,000 souls. Lu Chun replied, "I have invited you here today because I have a gift. I wish to offer a significant amount of merit to you, great king." The king's voice suddenly shifted, dripping with a heavy sense of suspicion. "Merit? And you want to offer it to me?" Clearly, the ruler of the underworld hadn't expected such a response from a mere mortal boy. "Listen closely, kid," the king warned. "You had better tell me the truth. Otherwise, even if your natural lifespan has not yet reached its end, I will personally ensure that a dark mark is recorded against your name in the book of life and death." Lu Chun didn't waste any time. He quickly explained how Sun Qinsang had sought a blessing to extend his father's life. The king sounded incredulous. "What did you say? You want me to grant a blessing of longevity to a mortal whose time is almost up? Boy, are you absolutely certain you haven't prayed to the wrong god? This is quite the misunderstanding. I am the king of hell, not the god of longevity." Lu Chun gave a small, clever smile. "Great king, as the saying goes, saving a single life is worth more than building a 7-story pagoda. If you would only be so kind as to lift your hand ever so slightly, then that great merit would belong to you, wouldn't it?" It was a bold move, to say the very least. The king's voice exploded in fury. "Nonsense. What do you think the book of life and death is? Do you think it can be changed on a whim? To ask me to agree to such a lawless scheme that flouts the rules of heaven is simply, utterly preposterous. Do you think I've held this position for too long and want to be replaced? Is that it?" As he spoke, the ghostly winds grew even more violent, and the temperature in the room plummeted several degrees in an instant. The cold was bone-chilling, and it was clear King Yama was truly angry. Lu Chun wondered if this particular king was a strict, law-abiding sort of ghost. He thought rapidly. This didn't seem right. His source of wealth treasure was supposed to guarantee success, wasn't it? Yet looking at the current situation, even a 30% chance of success seemed difficult. Lu Chun frowned, deep in thought. He searched for a way to pivot and appeal to the king's hidden desires. His eyes swept over the cold, dilapidated surroundings of the shrine. Suddenly, a brilliant idea struck him. "Well, boy," the king rumbled, "why have you gone silent? Have you finally realized how shameful and excessive your request truly was?" "It is indeed excessive," Lu Chun admitted calmly, "and for that, I can only apologize. At least you have some sense. However, I can offer something in exchange that you might actually want, great king." The king sounded intrigued. "You think you know what I want? By all means, let's hear it." "Great king, what if I had a grand Yama palace built for you, and a magnificent golden statue, so the mortals could offer you worship? If I did that, would you be willing to grant your disciple this one tiny, effortless request? A golden statue for me." The king's voice wavered. It was a clever play, targeting a god who currently had nothing but a wooden tablet. For an underworld deity without even a proper image, the promise of a golden body and a luxury palace was an overwhelming temptation. "Boy, I see we are currently in a temple," the king noted. "Tell me, is this temple yours?" The king's voice had suddenly become much softer and more polite. "Money, or in this case, gold, really does talk." "It isn't mine, no," Lu Chun replied. "But does your family happen to own a temple?" the king asked hopefully. The king's voice boomed again, suspicious and sharp. "You brat, are you daring to make a fool of me? Great king, please, don't be hasty. Lu Chun replied smoothly. I wasn't finished. My family may not own a temple, but the person I'm praying for certainly does. In fact, their family shrine is one of the 4 greatest temples in this region. Their resources are, to put it mildly, quite vast. If you agree, I will speak with them. They would be overjoyed to build you a temple and cast your image in pure gold. We see the ghostly winds begin to settle as King Yama falls into a silent, greedy reverie, already imagining his new golden body. Very well, the king finally muttered. Considering your kind heart, this matter of extending a lifespan is not something I couldn't make an exception for. Lu Chun bowed deeply. My deepest thanks, great king. I have often read that among the 10 kings of the underworld, you are the most admired for your wisdom and fairness. Seeing you today, I realize those stories were true. You truly are a compassionate deity. To be honest, flattery was always his strongest suit. Enough, boy. Save your silver-tongued praise for someone else. The king grumbled, though he didn't sound particularly displeased. I require a specific promise from you. If you can grant it, then your request will surely be fulfilled. Lu Chun listened intently. It seemed his plan was working, but as we know, divine favors always come with a price. Please, tell me your command, King Yama. You say this Sun family is willing to build me a temple and a golden statue, the king began. But I must ask you this. In the future, every single day, will I be able to receive 10,000 sticks of incense in my honor? Lu Chun nearly choked. 10,000. That would require 10,000 people to offer prayers every single day. He wanted to point out the absurdity. After all, King Yama isn't exactly a god of wealth. What normal person prays to the god of death every morning? Well, if you can promise me this, I naturally will not let you down. The king was driving a hard bargain. The king's tone had become purely seductive, dangling the lifespan extension like bait on a hook. Lu Chun realized that while the golden statue was a great start, this king was far more ambitious than he had initially anticipated. He thought he could easily hook the king, but he didn't expect the old deity to suddenly turn the tables on him with such a demand. The request caught him completely off guard. To be honest, great king, 10,000 sticks of incense every day is quite a difficult task for me. He continued carefully. I know you are compassionate and just, hating evil above all else, but the common people are often quite foolish. Most people are terrified of the gods of the underworld. Asking them to come and offer incense every single day might be difficult. As he spoke, his heart skipped a beat. A sudden realization hit him. He sensed that old King Yama didn't want all that incense just for himself. It was highly likely that the king was planning something much bigger than a personal snack. Could it be? Perhaps he wanted to open the mortal market for the entire underworld, establishing shrines and positions for all the spectral deities. He was essentially trying to expand his territory into the human realm. If he actually succeeded, well, that would be something else entirely. It would be an epic achievement that would shock the 3 realms. Once his 3,000-year term ended, he wouldn't just be a regional ruler. Old King Yama would actually be qualified to become the great emperor of the underworld himself. Then tell me, the king asked, what number do you think is appropriate? I am curious to hear your thoughts on the matter. The king's voice was calm, but the pressure was palpable. Lu Chun hesitated, then held up his fingers. How about this many every day? You brat, you really are bold, the king roared. I asked for 10,000, and you have the nerve to drop it down to 10? What use would a golden statue be to me then? If the other kings found out, they would laugh me into an early grave. Tell me your name this instant. I would very much like to see where your ancestors are currently serving in my underworld, which, as we can imagine, was not a friendly invitation. Lu Chun winced. There's no need to involve my ancestors, great king. I have a humble request and a different proposal. He explained that while he couldn't get thousands of pilgrims overnight, he had other ways for the king to earn divine merit. He offered to bring the king's spirit home to personally worship him every day, while also spreading his stories to the masses. He promised that once people truly understood the king's character, they would offer their devotion willingly and from the heart. In time, word would spread from hundreds to thousands, and those 10,000 sticks of incense would surely be within reach. This was the final solution Lu Chun could think of. A heavy silence fell over the hall of Yama, and even the chilling winds began to dissipate. The wailing of the ghosts vanished as well. After a long moment, King Yama's voice echoed softly. Boy, do you truly intend to invite me into your home to be worshipped and provided for? Lu Chun insisted he was absolutely sincere. Are you not afraid, the king asked, that my presence would bring you nothing but misfortune? How could that be, great king? You aren't some god of bad luck, so why would there be any misfortune to speak of? Besides, as the king of the underworld, your power is absolute. My admiration for you is like a surging river that never runs dry. He went so far as to say that if the king didn't mind, he was even willing to take him as his adoptive father. Yes, he really said that. With the precedent of the god of wealth already set, Lu Chun felt incredibly bold. Since the god of wealth was his sworn brother, he figured it wouldn't be too much for the god of wealth's brother to call King Yama father. Whether the king agreed was his business. Lu Chun had nothing to lose. In his mind, being a bit daring was always better than being timid. To be honest, it was a gamble of epic proportions. The king hadn't expected this mortal boy to suddenly try and claim him as a father. He let out a booming laugh that shook the hall. Haha, you truly are a cunning little brat, aren't you? You have a silver tongue. Not only are you eyeing my ledger of life and death, but it seems you've set your sights on me as well. Great king, please understand, Lu Chen pleaded. Every word I say comes straight from the bottom of my heart. We shall discuss that matter later, the king replied. If you truly wish to be my adopted son while still in that mortal body, then you must show me some real results first. I want to see what you can actually achieve, rather than just listening to your talk. Don't just rely on your quick wit. However, since you've shown such filial piety, I will grant you this. Quickly, give me that person's name. I shall check the records first and see what can be done. Which, in this dark hall, felt like a massive victory for our protagonist. It seemed the king had finally agreed to help, and so, the first hurdle was cleared.